Hey, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Father Hines and his great band playing for you from the new Grand Paris.
Hey, Chris.
Chicago's great South Side. Get ready now
Hey, Gene.
for 30 minutes of Super Jive in the Father Hines style. Yeah.
Evening, Lisa. Hey, Karen and Martin.
What could this be? Ah, it's a
Hey, Dina.
blues.
Miles is purring and purring here. But he doesn't want to be held, he just wants to be... he just wants to play. Hey, John. Hey, Becky. Hey, Marty. Hey, Ellen, we're alright. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Ellen and Jacqueline. Becky. Hey, Karen. Hey, Bat. Miles has stopped building and he knows it. But I got it for him today. I've got a little... It's like a mouse Pullman. Look what Miles will do with that. We should save that for the grand finale, though. Evening, Hal, Michelle, Bruce, Cindy, Bridget, Ava, Maggie, Jennifer. Hey, Jordana. Hey, Lindsay. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Mary. Hey, Betty. Hey, Adam. Hey, Mike. I think I might have missed Ava. Hey, Ava. Hey, Mary. Hey, David. Hey, Julianne. Hey, Cassidy and Christy are on. Miguel, there will be some live music tonight. Hey, Octavio. Hey, Toby. Hey, Timberly. Oh, Luca's out there too. Hey, Luca. Hey, Kyle. Hey, Maria. In NYC. My fellow tour guide. Hey, John. Hey, Susan. Hey, Art. And Chelsea. Hey, Judy. Hey, Marley. Welcome along, everybody. Hey, Cindy. And Irene.
That's what you call
Hey,
a
Casey. Hey, Loretta.
Yes,
Hey, Phoenix.
Earl Father Hines carries on now and presents Leroy Harris to sing
Hey, Bat.
Nature's Pet.
Well, it looks like we got a scammer. Blocked. Hey, Trish. Hey, Judy. Hey, Leah. Hey, Kelly and Donna. So, obviously you guys aren't going to push the button here because you're already here. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Jerry. Hey, Sarah. Sandy, I am just having a Manhattan this evening, but made with Heaven's Door bourbon. Continuing to honor Bob Dylan on his 80th. Hey, Diane. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Beck. Hey, no one over on Facebook. Miles. There. We'll chase the gefilte fish. Good jump. But I gotta say hi to the people. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Susan. Hey, Jolynn and Sandy. Hey, Lisa. Amaretto sours are good. That's Ronnie's drink. Hey, Candace. And JD. Hey, Dana and Marty and Gary. Hey, Dad. Hey, Robert. Hi, Joanne. Oh, well. Your Daddy's working right now. Oh, you caught it all right. Okay. Hey, MJN. Hey, Ronald over in California on YouTube. Hey, Susan, Jean, Maureen, and Julianne. MJ. Hey, Nanette. Hey, Vicky. Sandy, 38 degrees, man. Now you're down in Georgia. It's too hot to do puzzles. Hey, Kathy and Donna and Ava J. Luann. It got a lot colder here today. It dropped like 30 degrees from yesterday. Hey, Patty. Elizabeth, I haven't tried the screwball yet. I like peanut butter, I like whiskey. I don't know if I like them mixed. But Octavio, whatever you want to drink is fine. Sparkling ice, Ronnie's particularly into those. I'm a LaCroix boy myself. Hey, Patty, hey, Sarah. I just like the carbonation. I can get away from the pop if I can just still have the carbonation. Hey, Sandy, Susan, Donna. Many of you I probably say good evening to like several times over the course of this. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Kathy, I hope so too. Hey, Mary. Hey, Carol. Hey, milk and cookies is fine too. You don't have to drink booze tonight, it's alright. Drink whatever you feel like, including water. Whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to close out the mail program so no more distractions there. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Karen. Hey, Jennifer. Evening, Tracy and Carolyn. Hey, happy birthday, Denise. Oh, yeah, CBD seltzer. That's what they called me in college. No, it's not. Hey, Lori. Hey, Patty. Hey, Melissa. Linda, that sounds good. Ah, Laura, I hate it when that happens, when the comments won't scroll. That happens sometimes. Wallpaper and licking. As long as it's not the arsenic wallpaper. The snozberries taste like snozberries. Jerry, that sounds good too. I got some Jenny's peanut butter ice cream in the freezer right now. Hey, Patricia, welcome to your first time travel pub crawl. Rachel, I think limoncello LaCroix would go with a lot of good things. MJ, I'm about 5'10", 5'11". Those are what kind of shoes I got on, I suppose. Hey, Robin down in Wilderness Lodge. Thanks, John. Hey, Ann. Hey, Kyle. Dragon's Milk, that sounds good. Jay, that's awesome. I love going to Sleepy Hollow. I went once, too. I happened to have a day to kill in New York. I'm going to take the train up to Sleepy Hollow. It was awesome. Sandy, been getting close to back to in-person. We've done one. My sister's asking, how much do I weigh? 50 pounds, Cassidy. Hey, Mary. Quite contrary. Brandy and ginger ale. It's called a witty chuck. Hey, Marty. Hi, Mary Jo. Miles says hi back. Hey, June. Hey, Annie. I especially like the street signs in Sleepy Hollow have a headless horseman on them. Love it. I'm a sucker for a good headless horseman. And in fact, I should really add... Let me see if I got the picture I can add here. Hey, Gail. Hey, Jerry. I do. Okay. All right, I'm going to throw that in later on.
With the bow to Leroy Harris for the words, we turn on now to the next tune.
Hey, Eileen.
Father Hines gives us a bit of jive under the general heading of So Help Me.
And most of my best That's What She Said jokes right now come. The big hard seltzer boom has been great for me. Evening, Sue. We'll give Earl Father Hines a couple more minutes here. Hey, Kara. Aviva, Sleepy Hollow is up about a 45-minute train ride from New York City. Up along the Hudson. On the Hudson River line. Great views out the window on the train, too. Hey, Ellen. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Eleanor. Yeah, just remember, stick your arm over the tip. It may come back in another ship. That works for me. Hey, April. Hey, Lisa in Kansas. Apparently we had someone from France this morning. We'll give it a couple more minutes for everybody to show up. Hey, Carla. Welcome to summer break. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Sandy. Yeah. Hey, Eli's out there. Everybody say hi to Eli. Now, John, I don't think I did. I didn't catch it in the comments, but perhaps they'll have to just come back and taunt me a second time. Brett, I'm having a Manhattan tonight. Did I have a Grease reference? Huh. Grease originally premiered at the Kingston Mines here in Chicago on Halsted Street. But when it first premiered, it didn't really have a plot. It was more just a bunch of sketches, and much dirtier than the current version. Hey, Susan. Hey, Kristen. Alright, we'll let this particular song fade out a little bit before I get started. It's kind of a shorter time travel pub crawl today. As usual, I give myself a lot more time to work on that. Stacy, that I did. That was what I was singing. That's not Grease. That's Polaris. But alright, everybody. I said we wait till the end of that song to get going. I think that means it is time to get going. So once again, everybody, it is time for our theme song.
Climb aboard, cause you don't know exactly where or when we'll go. Chicago 1893, or the Gilded Age in NYC. Blast off into outer space, drink till you're flat on your face. From the comfort of your home, so if you puke alone, one day we'll even find that place in France. And don't come crying to us if you pee your pants. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Time travel pub crawl. Yeah!
I feel like we need a whammy bar chord right at the end of that. I'll get on that for next time. So, alright, welcome to a kind of a low-key time travel pub crawl. I'm Adam Seltzer from Mysterious Chicago Tours. I've been a tour guide and historian here in Chicago for over 15 years now. I've got about a dozen Chicago history books, including Mysterious Chicago, the book. But perhaps a bit more relevant to today, the Smart Aleck's Guide to American History. We're going to be covering stuff today that actually is in the Smart Aleck's Guide to American History, and was actually even in my high school history class. One thing that was not in my high school history class, though, was the fact that in 1915, a guy was digging a trench in the Chicago River, and to lay some cables down, while he was digging, his shovel brushed up against some kind of big metal thing that turned out to be the wreck of a 40-foot-long homemade submarine. Where it came from, we still don't know for sure. What became of it, we still don't know for sure. But after they raised the thing up the next month, they put it on display on South State Street under the name The Fool Killer. For a dime, you can see the submarine and the dead guy they claim to find on board the thing. Now, It officially disappears off of the record in 1916, but for the sake of our time travel pub crawls, we're going to say we found it. See, when we're doing a virtual pub crawl, we reasoned that we're not really bound by time or space. We could go to bars that haven't existed in years. So we're going to say that we found the Fool Killer, and it's not just a submarine, it's also a time machine. It goes up, down, side to side, forward through time, across time and space. It fits perfectly on Lower Wacker Drive. It can skip the traffic on Golf Road. Well, now how much would you pay? But alright, so what we do on the Time Travel Pub Crawl is we go around to all kinds of places. We've got some musical guests to help bring everything to life. So, if you guys are ready, we are going to blast off into outer space. It's a place we've been to before, but I thought it was a cool place to go, so I thought we'd check in on our friends back in time, down all the way on the far south side in Pullman. The neighborhood built by G.M. Pullman for his employees at the Pullman Palace Car Company, which made luxury train cars. This was the Hotel Florence. Now, this was much nicer than your average town that was built for factory workers. Much nicer houses, had things like an arcade, recreational facilities, but it was also a little bit paternalistic, to say the least. You had to rent from Pullman. The standard going joke there was we are born in a Pullman hospital, educated in a Pullman school, work in the Pullman factory, and when we die, we'll go to a Pullman hell. But this was the Hotel Florence, named after Pullman's daughter. Been sitting empty for a long time. They're always talking about doing something with it, but so far nothing has quite happened. So we can just kind of look inside here. But this was the one place in Pullman where you could go to get a drink. Not if you were an employee. He was specifically against his employees ever having anything to drink. So if you're new around here, Pullman is a guy that we kind of blame for everything around here. Recently we took this picture, the first in-person tour I was able to do with the Patreon subscribers. We took this picture of ourselves at Pullman's grave. Now, Pullman was reputedly buried under about 10 feet of cement, steel, and railroad ties so that nobody could steal his body, which was the kind of thing that was known to happen in those days. Mainly, it was because of the fact that people like A.T. Stewart in New York had been stolen. There had been an attempt to steal Abraham Lincoln's body, but a few years before his death, there had been a massive strike here in Pullman. Pullman had cut everybody's wages, but not lowered their rents. There was almost a general strike of all industrial workers in the country. So, the National Guard was called out. Things got rather rough, and here's the picture I was going to pull up. We were talking about Sleepy Hollow in the comments a minute ago. There was actually supposedly a Headless Horseman right here in Chicago. A Headless Horseman who is supposedly an infantryman or a cavalryman killed during the Pullman strikes is said to haunt this stretch of railroad track around 49th and Loomis. Now, I've never found anything about a person actually dying in such a manner during the Pullman strikes, though it isn't right about the right area at 49th and Loomis, but just look at this place. If I were a Headless Horseman, this is exactly where I would be haunting. But let's just take a look on the inside of this place. It did look like a regular bar, though it was said not really to be for Pullman employees, just for executives, Mr. Pullman himself, and their guests. But let's check in once again with our bartender that we talked to last time.
Yeah.
Hey, remember us?
Oh, that's right, the Time Travelers.
Uh-huh.
Welcome back.
Hey, everything okay?
Can't be too careful these days. Hard to know who to trust.
Ooh, what's going on?
Maybe we should start with a drink. You remember our specialty, the very far south side? You take 2
Sure.
ounces of whiskey, 1 ounce each of simple syrup and lime juice, half an ounce of yellow chartreuse, if you got it, and top it off with a dash of Angostura bitters.
Got it, love it. Don't have any yellow chartreuse.
No one around here does these days. Not since Mr. Pullman cut everyone's salaries by a third.
Huh.
Not that they could drink here anyway. Old Pullman thinks that drink is the curse of the working class.
More like work is the curse of the drinking class, am I right?
I like the cut of your jib. You're all right. I'll let you in on a secret.
Do tell.
There's gonna be a strike.
A strike? Really?
Yep. We even got some guys who came down and taught us all a folk song. Call themselves the Dead Ringers.
Oh no.
Hum, 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 hum. Come gather round, children, it's high time you can. Of the hero named Miles and the devil Pullman, 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 till we drop. The gals and the fellas will fight to the death, or else fold like umbrellas. Ella, 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 Ella. So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plan, but we have the power. Power. So we'll march day and night by the big cooling tower. They have the plan, but we have the power.
They ain't much to look at, but they sure can sing.
Did they say a hero named Miles? Miles is here on the ship.
Ooh, Mr. Pullman wouldn't like seeing a ship like that. It's not a train. You know how he hates competition.
We'll be careful.
You'll be dead. Wait. You smell onions?
Yeah.
Strike breakers! They're coming! You better get out while you can.
Okay, well, if I don't want to be caught with strike breakers with onions tied to their belt. I've seen how that goes down. So we are going to jump back on the Fool Killer and fly away someplace else. Where should we go? Where should we go? Where should we go? Oh, so here's a place that we just talked about on the Bronzeville tour. We're going to jump ahead in time about 40 years. Let's see him try to catch us there. So right here at State Street, just below 35th Street, is a place that we talked about just the other day on the Bronzeville tour. There was a bar right around here called the Cabin Inn, originally at 33rd and State, then it moved about 2 blocks south. Notice it is called the Cabin Inn, the oddest nightclub in town, from Calumet 4972, featuring Dorothy Scott and her Cabin Inn Ribbons, run by Big Ivy and Jack Hardy. Oddest nightclub in town was mainly because what it was a drag club down in Bronzeville. So here's an ad from when they had moved down here. Still the oddest nightclub in town, featuring the world's foremost female impersonators, including Valda Gray. Perhaps the most famous who played there was a drag queen by the name of Sepia Mae West. There actually does happen to be a photograph of the inside of this one, too. This is absolutely fantastic. Right there in the middle, I believe that is Sepia Mae West. You can see they've got a log cabin theme going in the background. It's remarkable that this photo survived. So many of these places, there's nothing really going on the inside. Now, I couldn't get exactly the right kind of entertainment lined up for this on short notice, but I did think this was a cool place to put one of the bands that was able to send in some music for this particular time travel pub crawl. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, some favorites of Time Travel Pub Crawl from all the way down in Georgia up here to play at the Cozy Cabin, alias the Cabin Inn. Here is May Haley's Grave.
Hi, we're May Haley's Grave. Hi, Chicago.
And James from May Haley's Grave is in the comments.
Thank you very much.
Maya Haley's Grave, ladies and gentlemen. I believe you can catch them at Dragon Con. Now, I thought we might be safe from strikebreakers here at the Cozy Cabin, but we're not necessarily totally safe because the cops did in fact used to raid this place quite a bit. One time they busted in and said, "All right, everybody, put on pants or go to jail." Which of course means that I am in real trouble right now. So we'd better get going. Let's see, where can we go instead that we might be a little bit more safe? All right, let's go back even before Pullman, up into the Old Town area. Now, strangely, a couple of the places I wanted to hit today happen to be right on the same block, beginning right up over here with this place where Treasure Island is now. I guess from here it just looks like Zland. That is a grocery store, but on that site, 1623 North Wells in modern numbering, back in the 1850s, stood a place called Henry Kinkle's Saloon. Now, very, very little about Henry Kinkle's Saloon is actually known. There's just really this one photograph of it. It never got written up in the papers. Almost every reference to it in print is from the last couple of years, but mostly related to the fact that Levy Boone, our mayor who was a member of the Know Nothing Party in 1855, tried to shut down all of the beer halls on Sunday and raise the price of liquor licenses considerably. This was mainly to antagonize German and Irish immigrants. Now, as the Know Nothing Party member, their big thing was they were so called because they were very secretive. If anybody asked them what their platform was, they were supposed to say, "I know nothing." You know you got a good platform when you won't even talk about it. But their big thing was they were very, very anti-immigrant. So after he decided to shut down all of the beer halls on Sunday, rioters, or protesters I should say, gathered up at places like Henry Kinkle's Saloon and a place on Clybourne right nearby, and started marching towards the Loop until they got to the Clark Street Bridge. Now, this is how the Clark Street Bridge looked a little bit later than this. At the time, it would have been made of wood. Now, nowadays, we've been on the Clark Street Bridge on these tours before. Nowadays, they are bascule bridges, drawbridges that raise up in the middle. At the time, they were what's known as swing bridges. They were like right here, it's going across the river, but they could swing it sideways to let ships through. So, as the protesters approached, the mayor ordered the bridges all to be opened so they couldn't get across the river. Now, the popular retelling of this says that some of the protesters were stranded on the bridges as they got opened up. That's not in any of the contemporary accounts. It's probably not exactly true, but it's certainly, they did try to block them from getting in. It's come up in the news quite a bit lately, since our mayor messed with the bridges during protests last summer, and also is now trying to stop liquor sales after 10 p.m., which really kind of brings to mind Old Man Levy Boone. So, this ended up being one of our first riots. It's often referred to as the first real riot in Chicago, though at the time, a lot of places compared it to a riot from 7 months before, when Senator Douglas had given a speech just on the other side of the bridge. They were marching towards that side of the bridge. Douglas was on this one, promoting the Nebraska-Kansas Act, which would have allowed for the expansion of slavery in the new territories. He got pelted with produce. So, a lot of places. The riot made news all across the country. There's quite a bit of pretty good data about this. Some of them get into a lot of really good detail. None of them mention anybody actually being stranded on the bridges. But places like the Illinois State Register down in Springfield just had to compare it to the anti-slavery riots. Like last October, in the name of freedom, a mob rose up and stifled the freedom of speech by driving an Illinois senator from a public meeting called to hear his defense of his congressional course, which was spreading slavery. This mob was met by cheers from the Journal and its free soil coadjutors and indicative of a healthy state of public sentiment. Now that the lawless example of the Chicago mob is followed by a Missouri mob, the mobbed of October last are saddled with the blame of the last outrage upon good law and good order. Such acts are but the fruit of higher law, anti-slavery, teachings of fanaticism, the heated jarrings of the ultraism, etc., etc., etc. Same kind of shit you hear all the time right now. And we all know what I think of Levy Boone. I won't say what cemetery he's at, but I have been known to occasionally do a little ballet on his grave. Now, I wish I could tell you guys more about Henry Kinkle's Saloon, which is only ever mentioned today in connection with the lager beer riots of 1851. It's said to be one of the places that was affected by it. Maybe in a broad way, they would have been affected by the liquor licensing changes and by the being closed down on Sundays, but certainly in 1855, nobody was writing about Henry Kinkle's Saloon in particular. So we'll move on from that a little bit. We'll go up about 30 years in history, but also really in the same general neighborhood. You might remember this morning, if you were here for the morning mini tour, we went to the site of Haymarket Square. Here's how it looked that grim May day in 1886 when a rally was going on for the 8-hour workday, kind of a warm-up for the Pullman strike that would come later. And the second the permit expired, the cops started marching towards it, pointing guns at everybody. Somebody in a vestibule threw a bomb. Nobody knew who threw the bomb or which side the bomber was on, but they arrested everybody who had anything to do with it. 4 people were eventually hanged. All were eventually pardoned because they could never find out who threw the bomb, and some of the people they arrested manifestly weren't even there that day. But when I was trying to figure out which saloon we could go to that might be related to this, it was really the question became, which saloon? There are quite a few of them. For one thing, a lot of the sentiment, a lot of the communication between the various revolutionaries was run through a German-language newspaper called the Arbeiterzeitung. This was a few blocks east of here over in the Loop, and the first floor of it was a saloon. Now, meanwhile, over on Lake Street, not far away, several of the people were rounded up in Grafe's Saloon. Over on Lake, this would have been just like 54 West Lake, so not too far west, right in the middle of the Loop. But the place I decided to land on was up a little bit further north, in what is now Old Town, roughly Old Town area. We scrolled just over here, up Clyburn Street. You come to this building that is sometimes said to be the same original building. I'm not entirely sure that this is really the right place, but there was a building called Neff's Hall at what is now 1265 North Clyburn. It does kind of look about right if they'd added a couple of buildings onto this, or if the drawing originally just left part of it out. But this was the scene of a big gathering place. This was a beer hall probably not unlike Kinkle's. Mostly it was a beer hall, but like a lot of beer halls at the time, it was also a meeting place. People would get together here. There'd be a lot of risk between the revolutionaries and the not quite revolutionaries. But among the regulars there was Louis Ling, who was accused of knowing a lot about dynamite and explosives. And in fact, Mr. Neff testified later that at the meeting after the riot, he overheard somebody shouting at Ling, "This is all your fault." Now, the fact that Ling wasn't even present at the rally that day, that was enough to get him sentenced to be hanged. But as we've covered on a lot of the ghost tours, he was not hanged the night before the execution. He bit into a dynamite cap and blew his own head off. Now, there is in fact a drawing of what this place looked like on the inside. That's fairly unusual. Now, once again, guys, I started this one a little bit too late, so I'm going to have to do the music here myself, but I do have a pretty good, kind of on-point song. Kind of blends the sentiment here with the fact that it was also Bob Dylan's 80th birthday this week, so. Something's out of tune there, out of tune because I care. Woody Guthrie was sent to New Jersey when chorea aided his brain. And he lay on his back for a decade, just dreaming of riding the train. 'Cause he traveled all over the country, spreading the truth and good cheer. And when Woody ascended to heaven, he said, "Man, what am I doing here?" And when doorbell ditching at the pearly gates, he rang the bell and ran like hell up at the pearly gates. St. Peter caught up to Woody as he raced through the circles of hell. He said, "God is well pleased with you, Woody. You've done the Lord's work well." But Woody said, "Up there in heaven, there's nothing to protest about. So hell is in need of some major reforms. So if you try to pull me back out, I'll come doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. I'll ring your bell and run like hell up at the pearly gates." Then St. Peter said, "Sing for the angels. In heaven the hoots never stop, and the boxcars are all filled with pillows, and you never get chased by the cops." Woody Guthrie said, "I ain't no sellout. I won't knock on heaven's door until all of the demons are unionized and nobody's damned anymore. I'll come doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. I'll ring your bell and run like hell. Heaven will just have to wait, just have to wait." All right. But you know what? If we are running from Pullman strikebreakers, a Haymarket-related saloon is probably the absolute last place we ought to be hanging out. I say we get out of Chicago altogether. Everybody, let's go to New York City. They'll never find us here. Go all the way from Chicago to New York. Stick around about the same time period, the 1890s, just a few years after Haymarket, we will go to the Bowery. Bowery is a street on the south side of Manhattan, from the old Dutch word Bouwerij, which means farm. Like a lot of lower Manhattan, before you get to the numbered streets, a lot of it is just like the road, wherever the cows walked 300 years ago. The Bouwerij was just a road to somebody's farm. But by the late 19th century, it had a reputation for being a very colorful area, is one way to put it. Lots of pickpockets, lots of dives, lots of houses of ill repute. But among those, none had so bad a reputation as John McGurk's place, which was originally known as McGurk's Saloon, which he opened after having been shut down by the cops, making several other saloons over time, and came to be known as Suicide Hall after a while. Here's Mr. McGurk himself. Looks like the dad from Mary Poppins. But really, this was a place where over the course of about a year, there were 6 suicides and 7 attempted suicides, primarily by women who worked in the place. And by worked at the place, I of course mean sex workers here. But there is a lot of drawings. The press loved this place. And after that, Mr. McGurk actually renamed the place Suicide Hall by himself. The press loved talking about this place, and a thing where the most disgusting acts are done most openly. Now, the bouncer, in fact, was a guy by the name of Eat 'em Up Jack, a former bouncer who was known for getting in fights all the time, until one day he was finally killed in one of the fights. It's almost worth looking a little bit at one of the obituaries. What remains of the left ear shows one method of paying a grudge without appealing to the law. It had been bitten off. The other ear was cut off just above the lobe, and according to the ethics of the Metropolitan Banditti, this means Eat 'em Up Jack had once been caught cheating at cards. And across the forehead, under the chin, and on both cheeks, the flesh is crisscrossed with the scars, the relics of hundreds of vicious battles he had been through. If the morgue keeper would have raised the white shroud, it would be seen that sometime in his youth the dead man, for the sake of experience, had gone through tortures like the worst of the Spanish Inquisition. There are bullet wounds, razor and knife cuts, indications that at different times every bone in his body had been broken, and on the feet the unmistakable signs that among goes on and on and on like this. Probably exaggerating just a bit. Particularly interesting here is the note about an ear having been bitten off. That connects it to another legendary New York figure named Gallus Mag, a woman who shows up in a lot of New York folklore, supposedly liked to bite people's ears off and had a jar where she kept them pickled. Now here's the thing though. There are some references to a woman who went by the name Gallus Mag who worked at a couple of saloons, but the whole thing about her stealing people's ears seems to have been invented by Herbert Asbury, the same guy who invented quite a lot of what we now consider the H.H. Holmes legend. But, while we're here, we are on a pub crawl, why don't we stop in with and check in with Mr. McGurk himself? So, Mr. McGurk, there are those who would say that it would be pretty low class to rename this place Suicide Hall.
That isn't why I renamed it that. This isn't a disorderly house. I named it after our signature drink. The Suicide.
The Suicide.
Yes. The boys in the Bowery like to mix the various flavors of phosphate from the soda fountain and call it a suicide, you see.
Oh yeah, also known as a graveyard or swamp water. But that's where that came from?
Let's say yes. Those Bowery boys. Delightful little scamps. So I took their idea and combined a bunch of flavors and just mixed in whatever was handy. Vodka tends to mix well with most things, and top it off with some Angostura bitters.
Sounds good.
Yes,
very
I
classy.
run an orderly house, no matter what Mr. Roosevelt says. We keep women off the streets, and I never pushed a girl downhill any more than I ever refused a helping hand to one who wanted to climb.
One way of putting it, but guys, I'm just kind of things might be a bit problematic here.
Problematic? Why, I was converted at the gospel tent. I let missions people in here.
Yeah, guys, I'm afraid this guy might be a little too problematic for us. We probably ought to get out of here. He eventually himself was driven out of business, and it became a family place, which is like the 1901 equivalent of turning into condos, which is what's on the spot right now, naturally. But just because you worked at a bouncer in places like this didn't mean you had to come to no good end like Eat 'em Up Jack did. One other guy who started out as a bouncer ended up with a place of his own up about 60 blocks on 52nd Street. Back in about 40 or 50 years later, too, in the 1940s and 1950s, there was a guy by the name of Toots Shores. In South Philadelphia, born and raised, in trouble is where Toots spent most of his days. But then, upon moving to New York as a young man, he got a job as a bouncer at various places, estimated that he flattened about a guy a day. But while working as a bouncer, he became friends with lots of celebrities and lots of mobsters, which is just what you needed in New York in the 1940s and 50s to open a successful bar. So he ended up opening Toots Shores' place, initially right across from Radio City and then on 52nd Street. It was especially known for baseball players coming into the place. People like Mickey Mantle hung out there. There's Mickey with Toots. Muhammad Ali would come in there as well. Joe DiMaggio was a regular for a while until apparently Toots said something nasty about his wife. There's kind of an unwritten code that if you went into Toots Shor's place, no matter how famous and how successful you were, he was going to make fun of you and you were just going to have to take it. Now here's a picture of his 1948 softball team. That's how you can see Frank Sinatra ducking down right in front of him there. Unmistakable grin. Now, the story goes, one time Sinatra was waiting in line to get into the place. Everybody had to wait in line no matter how famous you were. Frank was just about to protest when Toots handed him the dollar and said, "Hey kid, why don't you run across the street, get me a paper?" Yogi Berra is also said to have been a regular in the place. One time Ernest Hemingway came up to him. Somebody introduced the two of them and Yogi said, "Oh, so what newspaper do you write for, Ernie?" Classic. There's Joe DiMaggio, too. Charlie Chaplin about got kicked out of the place one time. You knew not to mess with anybody at Toots' place, but he came out to a much better end. Had some tax evasion issues and stuff, but at least he didn't end up on a slab, murdered, and having people talk about your missing ears. But that's just a brief sojourn. We got time for, I think, one more place. So we are going to fly back to Chicago. There's one place I know that will be safe where the strikebreakers cannot touch us, and that would be a folk music club. Now here's Treasure Island again, where Kinkle's Saloon was. Just down the road from that, about 2 doors down, was this place that is currently Corcoran's Grill. Now we've been here before. We came back here on one of the very first time travel pub crawls, right next to one of the Walgreens from the Tylenol scare. But right where Corcoran's is now, this was a folk club called the Earl of Old Town. Let's go right on inside. Very early in filming, I was able to get right into this joint. So currently it's a cool Irish bar, but they still have kind of a shrine up to its days as a folk music mecca. Like everybody who was anybody in the Chicago folk music scene played here, including a lot of big names. You can see on the sign right up there behind the bar, Jim Post, who is still out and around, John Prine. Right below that is there's a Steve Goodman poster right underneath it. Lots and lots of great people at this place. Here's what it looked like on the outside where it now says Corcoran's. And here is an actual picture of the bar as it looked at the time from the gatefold of an album that was recorded there. So for tonight, I was actually able to talk to a folk singer who's been a part of the Chicago folk singing scene since the 1970s. He's been a member of the faculty at the Old Town School of Folk Music and was in fact a regular at the Earl of Old Town. So everybody, to sing us one more uplifting folk song that will certainly scare away all of the Pullman strikebreakers, here's Chris Farrell, everybody.
Come to the border, come to the line. There's a song and a story that speaks of your kind. Then sing with the freedom your trials have earned. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. Some weep for lovers, some weep for friends, and then some cry in silence where the pain never ends. But with every teardrop a wave has been stirred. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. Turn to the music, turn to the light. Bring your ballads back home, your dreams are alright. The darkness is dying, the truth has returned. A song shall come shining, a voice shall be heard. The rivers and bridges and gather your words. Your song shall come shining, your voice shall be heard. So gather your music and gather your words. Your song shall come shining, your voice shall be heard.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will get that. If that doesn't scare away the Pullman Strikebreakers, I don't know what will. Chris Farrell, everybody, and that brings us to the end of another time travel pub crawl. So, quick plug for the upcoming stuff. On Sunday morning, we are doing Gold Coast Tales. Did that a few months ago. This will be the first time we try that on Sunday. And there will not be a tour on the evening of Thursday, June 3rd. So I'll be on the road, but there will be a really epic morning tour that day. I'll just let you know ahead of time. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it's going to be much bigger than your average morning mini tour. But we do run mini tours daily at 10 o'clock around here. That'll be continuing, and Fridays at 6:30, including tomorrow night. We're on the Patty Vasquez Show Facebook page for Whiskey and a Cookie. Now, should you need any Mysterious Chicago apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, etc., like these fine Georgia voters who helped turn Georgia blue, just go to cafepress.com/MysteriousChicago. They will hook you up with whatever you need, including Dead Ringers t-shirts. And with that, everybody, I will put this thing up and we'll put the Father Earl Hines back on. We will just hang out. Thanks for joining me for another time travel pub crawl. I'm Adam Seltzer from Mysterious Chicago Tours. Let's hear it from me, Haley's Grave for Chris Farrell, and of course my brother Eli, our bartender, and the Dead Ringer Quartet.
Couples are gaily dancing here in the cool atmosphere to this jive of Earl Father Hines. Yeah, but now comes Leroy Harris to sing Now It Can Be Told.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Shelly and Tanya. Angie, that band was called May Haley's Grave. Thanks, Diane. Any bars still related to Haymarkets? Well, right across the street from where it happened was the Haymarket Brew Pub, but that's new. Original ones, not that I know of. I don't think there's a bar left from the 1880s in Chicago. Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Julianne. Don, this is on the Mysterious Chicago Facebook page and Twitch. Most of the comments are on the Mysterious Chicago Facebook page. Thank you, Jan. Now, Chris had a graduation, so I know he's not joining us, but he and I have been playing the same Zoom open mic a lot lately. The oldest bar still operating in Chicago, it was Scheller's Pump, but then they closed. So I'm not sure who it is right now.
Number 9, add to it a little of the effervescent swing of Father Hines, and you have Beside a Moonlit Stream.
Yep, PayPal and Venmo are all shaped up now. I have somehow convinced them that I am not, in fact, a gambling kingpin.
Tropic breeze is blowing, rise with love light glowing, beside a moonlit stream. Faintly, the waterfall is singing, loving arms are clinging, beside a moonlit stream.
November date? I haven't listed anything for November, I don't think. Charlotte is still sick, everybody. Well, let's give her, we're giving her some privacy and a lot of cuddles. And I'm going to get Miles out in a minute so he can chase around and destroy the mouse version of Pullman. He's got the mustache and everything here. Miles. Everybody's asking for you, baby. They all want to see you, baby. Here he is. He had gone to sleep. Did I have November dates listed? I'll have to figure something out with that. Here's the guy. He seems a little tired out for chasing around the pole mouse right now. The beginning of the tour, he was all jumping around. Now he just wants to rock to Earl Father Hines.
Now comes up number 8 on our program of dancing, a tune titled, melodically, A Little Kiss at Twilight.
Alright, Miles feels he has fulfilled his contractual duties. He might come back out. Did I put something up for November 12th? I'll have to figure that out. Did something get posted? I usually schedule. It's tough to schedule stuff in November. You never know what you're going to get weather-wise. All I've got down so far is whiskey and a cookie. I could use some great guitar lessons. At this point, I've got too many bad habits playing guitar. I play like I'm playing with my feet. I'm better at iPad guitar than the real thing. Okay, I got my pants back on here. It's a magic trick. What is iPad guitar? Well, let me show you. Like so. Well, there. Okay, that's bass. You can even do like he went doorbell ditching at the pearly gates. They rang the bell and ran like hell at the pearly gates. Like that, you could add drums and everything. My whole last couple of albums were recorded almost entirely using that stuff. Oh yeah, looking up Amanda Mae Haley is worth your time. One day I'll get her on Cemetery Mixtape. Yeah, Karen, it probably comes preloaded on as the GarageBand app. And yeah, I'm much better at iPad instruments than I am at the real ones. Rockio, that is on GarageBand. You see, it's not even just guitar. You can also do. There's strings, drums, keyboards. You can even like make it just one scale, so it's. Let's see. I'd have to make this bigger, I think. Let's see. Come out, Virginia, show me your fun.
And now here's a great tune, all done up in a little bit of effervescent jive, bouncing along with the old favorite Catherine Perry to sing a Tiska-da-Taska.
All right, let's rewind the Earl Father Hines. I dig this recording, but not so much the set list. Yeah, all of the Time Travel Pub Crawl theme song, there's no regular instruments on that. It's just, it's just iPad stuff. Now, that's not Springsteen, that's Billy Joel trying to be Springsteen. It's Billy Joel's version of Rosalita. There are a great many Billy Joel songs where you can figure out exactly which Springsteen song he's trying to do. Ah, thanks for coming, Patricia. Glad you liked it. Now, James from Haley's Grave is my fellow Fluvog enthusiast. He has more of them than I do. Did I take piano lessons? I dearly wish I had taken piano lessons. I can just kind of wiggle my fingers approximately where the chords are. But the iPad one, they give you a lot of shortcuts. Eli, yeah, Allentown and Goodnight Saigon. And I would say Only the Good Die Young as well. That's clearly Rosalita. Oh yeah, make sure there's also a Facebook page out there if you're new, the Mysterious Chicago Regulars and the Miles Fan Club. Eli and I saw the Stormfront tour. And I think it was the second concert for both of us after Bobby Vinton at a fireworks jamboree in Omaha. We caught the River of Dreams tour, too, behind the stage.
That's what you call a powerhouse coach.
Now, Bob, I brought Miles out, but Miles just wants to crash on the bed right now. He's kind of curled up by Charlotte, giving her some moral support. I am drinking a Manhattan made with Heaven's Door bourbon in honor of Bob Dylan's 80th birthday. Seems like his 60th was just yesterday. Carol, I use about a 3 or 4 year old iPhone on the tour on the mobile tours. Kathy, as far as I know, it's on your end. Eli, just 2. They're actually Bada Bing cherries, which are like almost exactly like Luxardo's, but they cost like a third as much. King of the Ozone on YouTube. I think it is absolutely outrageous. I've got plenty of paperwork to put Holmes in Chicago during the time of the Ripper murders. It also just wasn't his style. But that's a whole video unto itself. Michelle, I do enjoy my job. I get to use all of my, all the things I'm okay at. I'm okay at doing music, but I can do it just enough here. Okay with graphic design, can do it just enough here. If you were ever an Odyssey of the Mind, I'm basically a professional Omer. Every week I do 2 long-term problems. But the thing is, I'm running out of cherry juice in this jar of Luxardos, and it's still like half a full jar of cherries, so I'm using multiple ones per drink now. I have far more cherries left than I do bourbon.